Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Special thank you to our sponsors, the Gillette Home team of Keller Williams Midwell Willamette. For all your real estate needs, go to teamgillette.com. And thanks to D. Scott Smith and Veronica Jeans and their book Freeze, in Action in the Face of a Business Crisis. For more information, go to stopinaction.com. Woohoo!
There we go.
You know, welcome to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. And there it is. You know, we were just talking about that with Bob. And Bob, I forgot to mention, Scott has his own Shameless promotion on the show. There you go. Yeah. Bob is dying laughing in the. Oh, and look at that. There he's got the mug and everything. Yes. Did you guys all know that Scott has a book out? Oh, by the way. There it is. There it is. Good morning, everybody. And good morning, Scott. How you doing?
Hey, I am good. You know, we had fun with Shri this morning. She was back after a week off. So on Instagram Live at 6:30 Pacific AM with lots of great video tips.
It was amazing. Mm-hmm. And you didn't welcome me back. I'm back after a week off of The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. Dr. Noopy was filling in for me last week. That's right. You didn't even miss me. Look at that. I'm not even needed on the show. So yes, I had some great time away, and I actually was able to pull off doing The Experience backstage, but I got a break from The Experience last week as I was traveling away, and that was great time with the family.
With Dr. Noopy to come in and every time Russ is gone, something happens. So when he was gone before, we ran the Kermit.
Hit the wrong
so we ran Cubit.
Tried to do it.
And last time last week it was some sound effects. So I added the drum rolls in just because we could. Yeah.
Well,
so you go down to the music and play those drum rolls and.
Yeah, you know, on Noopy's show, we just had her 1-year anniversary, and I added in a little dance music, and we were dancing.
Well, there you go.
So we were like boogieing on the show. There you go. Maybe when Bob and Sarah come on, we can do some more dancing. What do you think? There you go. Nothing like a little music, you know, to keep in the background. So, well, listen, Scott, it's great to be here. Everybody, Scott Smith. Scott and I have been friends for so long. We both graduated from. See if you can see it. I don't know where it's. Oregon State University. It's on there somewhere. There it is.
There we go. Got the beaver clock up
Oregon
on the
State
wall. Oregon State
University. Woohoo! There it is.
There's the beaver clock.
And we didn't even know each other back then. We walked in graduation the same year. Got to know each other through business. Scott is an amazing friend who has really inspired me in all that I do. I'm blessed to be here every week, and we are here at 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time every week for your viewing and listening pleasure. And if you miss it, guess what? It stays on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube after, and you can still go and watch it. And if you miss that, then you can subscribe to our YouTube and you can still watch it. And if you miss that, it goes to audio podcast and you can listen to it on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, all of those great, amazing things. So we just want to encourage you that if you are here today for the first time, that you just go get out there and share this thing out and subscribe to YouTube. And the best way to subscribe to our YouTube page is, there it is, by going to the experience.video. There it is. I knew I'd find it. The experience.video is where you go. It'll take you directly to our YouTube page. We really need to build that page up. So we would ask you, please subscribe today, because you know what? All it does is give you quick access to all the great content we've had before and notices about the upcoming content. YouTube is kind of a little library of all that we've done. So we just want you to go there today and enjoy that. And right at this moment, you can share the show right now, whether you're watching live or on replay. It doesn't matter. Share it out. Let other people know that Bob and Sara are going to be on. Woo! And they're going to be what you really want to see. So share this out. And we're excited about that. So, Scott, what do you got going on this week?
Hey, I was just, there's just some follow-up last week. Both you and I were case studies presented case studies during PodFest Global, and which is just a fabulous organization. Thank you to our friend Andrew Weiss, who is the marketing director for that organization, and Chris Kremotsos for just his leadership there. And it was just a great event. And so anytime you have these, whether it's in person or online, you're going to connect with people. So it's just been a lot of fun following up this week with that.
Yeah, that was a great event. And I actually saw a little bit last year, but the first year that I've really been involved, and I visited speakers and I watched presentations, and I was able to give that short presentation. Really was a blessing. It's a good way. I connected with a lot of new people through that, and just a good opportunity. And I want to encourage everybody, any opportunity that you have online or any opportunity you have in real life. I'm going to jump from this to a real life opportunity right after we get off and see real people. You can do that still too. Did you know that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so let's see, and we've talked about this before. We've talked about it on the backstage about saying yes. So last week I got to record with Tracy Shannon and her new podcast, Pebble. And so that's fun. I'm coming up this week, the Global Discussion podcast with Simon Hodgkins. We're going to be recording on Friday. That's 5:30 a.m., which is not early for Russ, but early for much of the world. But I'll be recording with him on Friday. And then next week on Tuesday, I'm recording a podcast. I'll be on Nancy Baki's show. And so I'm excited for these. Just lots of great opportunities because I said yes to wonderful people.
Well, and there are so many great opportunities. I love that. I love being on other people's shows. And of course, I just try to live up to you're such a glowing light, Scott. I just try to live up to Scott. Someday I might live up to Scott and all that
you need to
doing.
Get out more. But so I'm just going to say, so I post these. I do have a page on my website. So if you go to dscottsmith.com/podcasts, in the media, go to the in the media page. If you go to dscottsmith.com in the media, right there, you'll be able to see a lot of these shows that I've been on, including Russ's show, The Experience, and you've got number 300 coming up on Monday.
That's right. Marketing with Russ, aka #RussSelfie on Monday, number 300. That's a great idea, Scott. I'm going to steal that. I have never thought about making a page with all the other live streams that I'm on. That would be a ton of fun.
It's great. It's this archaeological dig, right? And I'm just going through because I always put the most recent one on top. And so you can just kind of go through and go, oh, wow, I remember being on the Dr. Vibe show. And,
that's cool. Well, listen, speaking about being on shows, we better get our guests in here. I was going to do an archaeological dig and bring Bob in first, but we're going to actually do like I always do. There you go. Yes. Ho, ho. We're going to bring ladies first, as we always do. So Sarah's coming in the house first. Sara, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, we're really excited to have you on this morning. And, I tell you that uh, we normally have somebody on like you to make our other guests look good. So this morning, thank you. Actually, it helps us look good too. So thank you so much for being here today. And
Absolutely.
we want you just to give us a little insight. Who is Sara and what are you up to these days?
Absolutely. So, by trade, for the about last 15 years, I have been in the design industry, specifically communication design. Had the absolute pleasure to work with a lot of global brands. Really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed working with teams and building teams. But lately, I had an aha moment where, for the last about 9 years, I've been a manager. Never thought I'd be a manager, much less enjoy it so much. But it really kind of started to open up my eyes that my background and training in human-centered design and how to make designs that are successful and something that people can find approachable and get the information they need are the same set of principles for human-centered leadership.
Mm,
And that connection was just a little mind blowing, and then things started to just kind of make sense of, my ability to bring up new managers, make management and leadership less intimidating, make it customizable but repeatable, and really equip and empower people to have the security of a framework but the ability to customize and make it their own style for years and years and years to come is really, really exciting. So about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, I did just start my own business. I am looking at taking on some, thank you, taking on some one-on-one clients for leadership coaching, specifically around human-centered principles. I'd love to work with more design-minded people. I think creatives get overlooked for management opportunities because of some stereotypes about creative people and creative brains.
mhm.
But as I shared with my own personal experience, sometimes it's really a superpower because we have this background and training and design and the human element of that, and it's not that hard to cross the bridge into management and really help open up the experience in the world for other designers or other people.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I spent the majority of my career as a people manager so far
really.
to this date. Yeah. And it was funny when I left that world, I knew I was going to be lonely because there's just something about leading a team of people and doing good
Absolutely.
work, right?
Yeah.
That's very rewarding. But one of the things that is challenging as a manager, as a leader, is that you look out at these great people. So if they're creatives, if they're designers, if they're developers, if they're engineers, they have a very specific skill, right? They
Mhm.
trained to be an engineer. They trained to be a graphic designer. And then you look at yourself as the manager and you go, but what is it that I do? Right.
Right.
And you almost feel like they have a definable skill, but I don't really, what is it that I bring to the table other than being an expense, a bit of overhead to the company?
Yeah.
And this is where working with someone like yourself, you're able to really determine what is that value? What are you adding to the organization? Because it is huge.
It's huge, and therefore it's really, really, really intimidating. And
Yeah.
so many new managers, they might get an HR seminar, they might get a training session, but there aren't very many who get continuous training, who get some sort of framework given to them, somebody that they can run things by. And I think that's so vital at the beginning of somebody's career because I think there's so many misunderstandings or misconceptions about a manager is this and it fits
Mm,
in this box and
Right.
I have to be perfect and I have to do everything very robotically. And when you take that away and go, you're a human, this other person's a human, you could be very different, but you can find connection points and a goal together that you as a manager can help guide them along. And
Right.
that's all it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that I have so many great comments about that, but we have an almost perfect manager we're going to bring in to
Yeah.
join the group. Mr. Bob Feathers
Ah,
is in the room. Woohoo!
Bum. There we go.
Good morning, Bob. We'll get volume on sound and we'll be happy. There we go.
There we
It's
Unmute
go.
would
okay.
help. If I took myself off mute, that would probably help, right?
It's okay. It's Bob's first live stream. It's all good.
First time on this new computer thing.
Morning, Bob. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Great to be
Long
here
time
again.
no see. I know it's been like a Bob week here in my world. So, Bob, I think that people around this community really know who Bob Feathers is because you're an amazing person. But to give everybody insight, who is Bob and what are you up to?
Bob Feathers. I'm here in Boston. I work for Bindable as a senior project manager. And Bindable, we are a technology company in the insurtech space, providing our partners solutions to sell alternate distribution channels for insurance products, P&C insurance products. But more importantly, in kind of my journey in leadership throughout my career, here at Bindable, two important components that kind of want to hit upon, especially upon what Sarah's talking about. One is I chair our employee engagement committee, which is really focused on the culture of our company, building our culture, supporting our culture, nurturing that piece and being intentional about that culture. And the second thing, to kind of Sarah's thing, is I've actually started a leadership council with all the management levels. So we have our executives and then we have all of the managers. And amongst our managers is a real mixture of very new managers, newly minted managers, and more experienced managers. And part of the idea behind this was to create this area where a safe zone for all these managers to get together on a monthly basis to talk about best practices or what things can we do to help each other and support each other. What's the messaging that we can provide? So we all have the kind of the same messaging. So kind of to Sarah's point, right? It's kind of a framework, but we all have our own voices and we all have different areas or expertise that we bring to the table. And that's an important thing. And then within that leadership, we just had our first meeting with the executive. And so on a quarterly basis, we meet the executive team in a collaborative space to basically say, hey, how can we support the organization better and make sure we're doing all the right things for the organization? And then what do we need from you, the executives, right? Here are some things we might need from you to help us where we feel we need, help, or where there might be some roadblocks, or where we want to be innovative, or think about moving development for a piece, for the organization. So finding that kind of voice and is an important space that we've created.
Well, listen, I want to jump on to something we both said. And Bob, you and I talked about this Monday on Marketing with Russ, and that is the people factor and the human factor. And, really the difference between management and leadership, everybody is a leader, right? Everybody is a leader of some sort. They're leading through their actions and all that they're doing. When people feel like they're part of an organization, they feel like they have some stock in what's going on, they are going to be a good employee and a good leader in the company, even if it's only by actions. And Sarah, I'm sure that is something you're talking about all the time.
Absolutely. Especially when you're trying to help somebody who isn't yet ready for management, but they want growth. Give them some leadership opportunities, give them some stake in a project, and give them the ability to, quite frankly, mess up. That's how people grow. You've got to create environments where people know they're supported, but they also know that they're empowered and that they can handle it, and that the expectation is that they go and that they try. And if they mess something up, it's not the end of the world, because you've created an environment where there's enough room to fix something or bring somebody else in. And it's not, well, you're not getting another opportunity. No, it's okay, well, next time, now you know what to do.
I love that, because one of my principles is that you develop leaders by creating opportunities where failure is an option, right? That if you have someone that's new in leadership, don't put them somewhere where if they make a mistake, it's going to kill the company, right? But if it fails, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
And they'll learn from that. And I'll just take a moment to share my 4 leadership principles, because there's there's a lot of discussion between management and leadership. And the truth is that we need both, right? You need to be a manager and a leader. And the textbook definition back from Oregon State University in the days of Business 101, when you open up the management section, it says plan, organize, lead, and control. Those are the 4 skills of being a manager. Unfortunately, on leadership, we tend to not really have such a clear definition. It tends to be more of, well, let's look at this great leader, right? And study that person. And you're like, that's great, but I'm not Gandhi, right? I'm not Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. How do I apply it? So my 4 leadership principles are communicate vision, build trust, inspire greatness, and move others to action. And so these are 4 things that we can define. I actually have a little 5-minute talk that I gave, an Ignite style talk.
Nice.
That we can put the link out there for that as well. But we need both, right? You need to be a leader and a manager.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with that. Bob, you want to pick that up?
Yeah, there's kind of a couple different threads that I want to pull on. One is, what Sara talked about, the voice. And that's an important component of this, right? And providing that framework, providing the structure for somebody, but then saying it's about your voice. I do that with the people that, on my team, saying, here's what I want you to do. Here's the kind of things I want you to work on. And then you tell me where you want me to be. Do you want 30,000 foot view and I'll give it to you and then you go? Do you need a little bit more? Do you need to be on 10,000 feet? Like, you tell me how much input you want from me and how much you need from me. And then I'm going to let you go, because guess what? You have to find your own voice. You're not going to communicate just like me. You're going to have to find the way that your communication style, but I give them the framework of what's important. Like, how to meet with how to build your relationships, to go back to Scott's piece, how to build trust, understand the people you're working with and kind of understand their tendencies and really learn how they communicate, and then learn, kind of put that all together, right? And so you start to build this portfolio of your people and how to communicate with them. So that's important. The other piece I want to talk about, what Scott talked about again, is leadership is not a position. Leadership is just an action. Anybody in an organization can be a leader. So it's really important. It's not about who you are. And that's, again, the important thing about management versus leadership, right? There are managers that, are responsible for people. They're responsible for something that's theirs. But anybody in the organization can be a leader, can lead by example, lead by action. And so going back to this point again, is people on my team, I give them opportunities to be a leader, meaning you're responsible for this particular meeting that happens on a recurring basis within our company, and you're in charge of it. You're in charge of facilitating that conversation. And it's a safe space, right? Because it's an internal meeting. So you can kind of mess up a little bit, but it's a way for them to find their voice, to be able to talk to people, to be able to facilitate a meeting, kind of work through an agenda, and have these, but find a space that, when I put them out in the world with a client, they've got all the tools necessary to kind of run those meetings, to facilitate those conversations, because they've done it internally.
And I love that you talk about leadership as a tool, because it is just a tool, right? It's just like being able to code, or to be able to use a particular piece of software. It's just a way to get something done.
Right. Well, I want to chime into that and then jump to Sara. The whole idea of having that confidence and giving people ownership of their leadership, Bob, that you were talking about, because everybody's a leader by action in what they do. I go back to the first company I worked for. It was a big public relations firm in downtown Portland, and they, as a young kid that knew nothing, they brought me in, and I was leading these management meetings, and they were giving me a leadership position and teaching me through what I was doing. I think you and I talked about that a little bit. We set agendas. I learned all these ways to drive communication and facilitate the meetings. And it was an amazing thing, because they all knew way more than me, but they were all just by example in the room, helping me learn to lead. And I've always tried to do that, be an example, teaching other people. Same thing when I first got into ministry. I mean, man, I tell you, when I first got saved and got into ministry, the next week, they threw me into a Sunday school class and had me teach retired pastors that all knew like 40 years of information more than me. And I learned to facilitate. And Bob, you and I talked about this. I learned to be a leader through facilitation, not trying to teach them, not being like, I have this position and I'm all that. It was you learning how to bring people together and truly lead people. Sara, what is your take on that?
I think that it was incredibly intimidating. You got put into that position, but
I
good for
know.
you. I have kind of what might be a little bit of a spicy take here. I agree that leadership is a skill and that it's something that you can, anyone can have it. Unfortunately, what I think happens, and I've seen it personally happen, is people who are either naturally good leaders or maybe had the coaching and the support, like you said, Russ, to facilitate something and they're successful in those traits. Management, of a company looks at that and goes, that person should be a manager. That's not always true.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I would also say it can be true if you support it and treat it like the serious thing that it is, because I see the difference between leadership and management as the stakes in the game of another person's success or failure is significantly higher when you're a manager. If you're a leader, it's more of an action. It's more of I facilitated this thing. I helped in this project, versus as a manager, you have, to my opinion, a very, very important responsibility to that individual to make sure. This is what I tell my managers. You've got some very basic goals. You need to make sure that that person knows what their expectations are, and at any given time, where are they in relation to those expectations? And then to be able to do that successfully, because humans, you have to have conversations up front, similar to what you were saying, Bob, of what does support look like from me? How do you want critical feedback? How do you want positive feedback? I've had individuals who they want their positive feedback in groups in front of people. They want the world to know what they did. And it makes them feel so good. I have other people, if I did that, they'd be mortified, absolutely mortified. So you can't treat every individual the same, because the goal and the outcome is going to be different. So you have to take that step back. And this is what goes back to that human-centered leadership, is find a way that's a formula that you can repeat with every candidate, every person that you meet with, but the outcome of that formula is completely tailored to what that person needs to succeed. And they know what's going on, you know what's going on, you know what's going to happen if something goes wrong, you know what's going to happen if something goes right. There's no surprise. No one likes surprises at work. No one. So that's what, to me, was the aha moment, and speaking with some people about it, and why I formed luxleadershipcoaching.com, to kind of help with some of these one-on-ones and help people with this framework that I've had tremendous success bringing up. About 8 different managers who are now, some of them are managers of managers, and not a single one of them, not a single one, ever wanted to be a manager. And they're all creative people. But you could do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you just said there, Sara, I want to, having something, a framework and something that's repeatable that you can help people with, that is where I think other leaders lead by example to create leaders, right?
Yes.
And I love what Russ John says. Russ John says, I want to help more people. Good leaders help other leaders be better leaders through their action. Right, Bob?
Yeah. And I just want to, so going back to what Sara said, there is an important distinction there. And it is true. It's not spicy. Not all people are meant to be managers.
Right.
It just because you're a good leader doesn't mean you're going to be a good manager. And it is management itself as its own thing. And it's important to remember that component. I would say that management, really one of the key components to management is accountability. That's, you're accountable. So, leadership's kind of like, okay, I'm doing this thing and I'm in leaders, but you just got to really think about a management is really accountable. You're accountable for somebody and or a team of people. So it's really important to remember that. And so again, if you are promoting people you think could be good managers, back to Sara, you have to provide them the tools, professional development, whatever it is, whether it's internal professional development or external professional development. You need to help them, because managing people is different than leading people. And you can be both a good manager and a good leader.
Absolutely.
Or you can be a good manager, not necessarily a good. I've seen plenty of really good managers that were not good leaders. Sorry, they just weren't. But they're good managers. Like they drove their team really well, but they weren't leaders. And of course, you've seen plenty of people that are really great leaders, but not good managers, right? It's like having there's all those different combinations. And I think within the business too, right, is understanding what people's strengths and weaknesses are, or I should say, focusing on their strengths and making sure you put people in the right positions to succeed. And if if you're not giving them the right tools to succeed, then you need to give them a different position, or you got to figure that out, or give them those tools. Like, what do I need to do to give them those tools to succeed? Because if you just kind of assume that they're going to be this and say, you're great, here's your new position, and then they fail at it because you didn't give them the tools, that wasn't very useful for you, or for you, the organization, or that person.
And to
Go ahead,
understand
Sara.
the tools are different for everybody. You said it earlier, Bob, even just of like, what does my support look like to you? That's just one example of the types of questions and the work you have to do as a manager to truly understand the people that you are, I love that, accountable for. That's a responsibility. You have to put that work in up front, because you can't go, well, this is how I support everybody, this is how I manage everybody. You can't do that, because you'll have a variety of outcomes and some of them are not going to be good. So you have to tailor it, and it goes back to, how do you customize it? And to me, it all goes back to taking the robotic element that I think so many people think management is, take that away, put it back into the camp or the bucket or what have you, that this is people. These are humans. They have different emotions. They see the world differently. They're going to react differently. They're going to need different things. And you have to be vulnerable as a human in those interactions as a manager as well. I tell people when I manage them, or quite frankly, when I have to work with them, I'm a very direct person. And one of the things that I am not naturally good at is overly praising or constantly, I wouldn't say overly, consistently praising work. Because my brain is like, well, I told you once. Isn't that enough until I tell you it's not? Well, that's not fair. I can't think that everyone's going to think that way. And so I have to consciously go and think, I have to do this because I care about this other person and this is what they need. And it's little to no effort on my part, and I'm happy to do it.
Right. And that is a great point. And we are going to start. I'm going to be the responsible host, and we're going to start the wrap up, because Scott's already looking at me going,
I was thinking about this topic. We have retired Lieutenant Colonel Oak on here, right? Talking about a leadership. And so I know that this is going to be an ongoing topic. And I'll throw it out there that this would be a great Russ Reels show.
It would be. And we're also going to go for episode 2 here. Folks. Yep. No, I agree. It would be a great Russ Reels. Thank you for that. And also, we're gonna book you two back on and have more conversation, because this is definitely more than a half-hour conversation. But got to wrap things up for today. So since I've already let the show go over, Sara, we're going to start with you. Give everybody a quick wrap up, your gold nugget, and how they get in touch with you, because I know they're going to want to know more.
Thank you. So I focus on human-centered leadership and management development. I'm taking 15 years of experience in human-centered design principles and applying that same type of principles to the relationships and the structure needed for successful management. I recently took all of that and my experience as a manager for almost 9 years and developing those skills and created Lux, L-U-X, leadership.coaching.com. That's where you could book a brief one-on-one with me to see if some coaching might help you in whatever situation that you're in or what journey you're in with management. I really am looking forward to helping more than the individuals that I am fortunate enough to work with. I don't think it's fair for me to keep all these secrets just for my coworkers. I'd really love to spread it around, and it's been wonderful being on something like this. Thank you, and continuing to spread it all around and share it.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate having you on, and people get in touch with you. How?
So to book a one-on-one, luxleadershipcoaching.com, LUX leadershipcoaching.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Sara Scharlau, SCHARLAU.
Amazing. And it's just incredible that amazingly just appeared below you as you were speaking.
Oh my goodness.
And we'll get we'll get the Lux leadership part on there too. And Bob, you're up next.
So what I would say is, don't overcomplicate your business. Think of it as a tripod, and think of this simple component. You have the vision and the accountability of that vision, like the things that you need to do to make your company, how your organization is going to move forward. Then you have the culture, and you need to make sure you support that culture to have the right people and and the people are happy in what they're doing. And then you have the leadership piece. And that's the execution, is the leadership to execute that vision and to make sure there's intention behind culture. And all you got to do is just think about that, feeding each part of the tripod and making sure you have the right people and that people communicating about that, and your organization will be successful. Don't overcomplicate it.
I love that.
And people get in touch with you.
LinkedIn, it's right there. Email's right there. Instagram, if you want to see my cooking and stuff like that, the fun stuff, go to Instagram.
Ooh.
Yeah, got to check that cooking out with Bob. That's it. Yeah,
there
for
we go.
Sure. Well, listen, both of you, you're amazing. We appreciate having you on. And we're going to say goodbye, but hang tight in the green room because we'll be right there to schedule part 2 of the Experience Live with Bob and Sara.
Awesome.
There we go.
Thank you all so much. This was great.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Ta-da!
Well, Russ. Da-da-dum. Yeah, notice my wife was commenting about my flux capacitor back here.
There you go.
That's
it.
Have some fun. Put some stuff up just because you can, right?
You got to have fun just because you can. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure as always, Scott, and everybody. You've seen the information ticking along the bottom in the comments and the show notes, how to get in touch with our guest today. We appreciate all of you and encourage you to do that. Also, Scott's at dscottsmith.com. I'm at russhedge.com. Join our YouTube community at theexperience.video. It's super simple. Go there and subscribe. We'd appreciate that if you do. And with that, Scott, I think we're just going to wrap it up for the day. We're a little over time.
Absolutely.
So we're going to say goodbye today. And listen, next week, Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, we'll be here again on The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. Until then, have a great day and a great life. See you all. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.